OTP. I'm Amie Wells, joined by Rhett, Bryan, and Coach Mac, Dave McGinnis. You guys, the 2025 NFL Draft is over. It has officially ended today with a final press conference from General Manager Mike Borgonzi and President of Football Operations Chad Brinker. So I figured that now we should all get together. Like, we should sit and talk about this, put a bow on it, wrap up what all of this means, and then talk a little bit about the future and where we can head. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yep.
I'm good.
Go.
Yeah.
I love that. So for starters, did everyone have a good draft experience? How do you guys feel? We had a bunch of content on Titans Radio. We were all over the place. Did you guys have a good time?
I did.
Yeah?
I did.
Well, I mean, we've been living with each other for quite a while now. It was good.
I mean,
It's good
really,
to have a weekend apart, is what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm not too tired of both of you, but
well, that's good. No, that was a very informal way of asking, but you guys do a ton of prep work. We talk about it for months and months leading up to it. Do you feel like you got to use all of your information? Do you have any leftover Rhett nuggies that didn't make it into the radio show?
I've got one as it pertains to one of the draft picks for sure. Yeah, I've still got a leftover nuggie. I would liken this just in something people can relate to. Young people getting married, you know, there's all this planning and forethought to the wedding day. Huge day for the bride. I mean, all of that build up. She wants everything to be perfect. And then like that, it's over.
Yep.
And that's kind of what it's just a big build up. Only they're building, you know, a roster here. And I love what they did structurally. They came into the offseason with 6 picks, ended up with 9 due to a couple of trades. And I know we're going to dive into that, but I think they got some nice players to get this thing rolling.
well, when you start putting a draft together, I mean, the thing that I enjoy doing, I mean, we looked at over 250 players. I mean, we went through that, made up our draft boards so that, and you only get to pick 9 of them. But the way we do it so that we've got information for our listeners. That's why we do it like this. And plus, I mean, it helps all of us when we're broadcasting games, because now we know who these players are. We know who they are because not only the players that we picked, but the players across the league. We can say, I remember when he was in the draft. Remember what we said about him. Here's his strong points. Let's see how he's developing into a professional. I mean, all of those things, that's why I keep all 39 of these notebooks, because I've got a good file on who these players are in the league, and it's important. I love doing it, and it was we did just all honesty, we did a real thorough job, which is what we do.
Yeah,
and we had a lot of fun doing it.
And the head coach saw the Mac Rhett board. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he seemed into it.
And he didn't throw it on the floor. He looked through it, and it was good.
Well, one of the reasons he didn't is because you have a long pedigree in this league. If it was my board, he'd be like, yeah, it's nice, son. Have a good day.
He'd probably want to see my board. I'm just saying.
Okay, that's fair.
Of course he would
Let
not.
me see Amy's draft board.
I agree with that, Amie.
Yeah, no, it'd be a real hodgepodge of craziness. But what is not a hodgepodge of craziness is the Titans' 9 draft picks. Let us review them really quickly, just in case anyone missed what happened over the last couple of days. So, with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans selected quarterback Cam Ward. Then in round 2 at pick number 52, they selected linebacker Oluwafemi Oladejo. Round 3, pick number 82, the Titans took safety Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State. Then in round 4, things start getting a little bit interesting. The Titans had 3 picks in that round. At 103, they took wide receiver out of Florida, Chimere Dike. At 120, they took the tight end out of Texas, Gunnar Helm. And then at pick 136, they took wide receiver Alec Iomanner, the wide receiver out of Stanford. Now at 167 in round 5, pick 167, they took guard Jackson Slater. He was from Sacramento State. And then they had 2 picks in round 6. Pick 183, they took Marcus Harris, a corner out of California. And then finally, pick 188, they took Khalil Mullins, a running back out of Michigan. So there you go. Those are the Titans draft picks, all 9 of them. And the pundits seem to like this draft for the Tennessee Titans. A lot of response, a lot of high grades, A's and B's from the national media. Mac, I know you probably don't put a lot of stock in those grades, but tell me why.
Close your eyes. Tell me what you see.
Nothing.
That is, you know who I like that likes it? Our draft room.
Okay.
I like the fact that the Titans like it.
My question to you.
Go ahead. I'm just being honest.
Is why do you think that draft class is being so well received on a national level?
Well, because people that know what they're doing know how they set up the draft and know how they, when they traded back, what they were trading for. And also, it's the same way that we put our board together is you look at pods of people as to where intrinsic value is. See, you get a lot of names, and then people will say, when it comes up, well, we need a receiver or we need a this or we need a that. No, what you need is a player that fits what you're trying to do in conjunction with everybody else that you're trying to take on your board. And that's what's extremely, extremely important. I mean, what I like, Rhett, is when we first started this back after the season, this first notebook, we have every player that they took in this book somewhere. Because we went over those names and we went all the way went all the way to Sac State. And what's important is that they spend as much time as we spend, they spend infinitely more time. And they've got more resources. They've got a lot more resources than we do. So the people that are looking at it that know what it is in the league, the reason they respect it, because they were looking and go, oh, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. That's why they like it. Now, some of the goofaloops that just write stuff doesn't move my needle at all.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, Rhett, you mentioned earlier that at the beginning of this kind of draft process, they had 6 picks. They ended up picking 9 players. That's pretty impressive for a first-time GM working with a first-time personnel group, right?
I think it is, but it also speaks to his experience as his whole body of work with the Kansas City Chiefs. And you got to remember the last handful, he was the assistant general manager. I mean, he wasn't just walking around with some kind of empty title. I mean, he was boots on the ground doing the work. And then I think the collective that they brought together between Chad Brinker, president of football operations, and he spoke about it in the press conference about being able to dip out of the war room and go handle some meetings with other things that are on the purview of his duties, and then come back in to know that. But when you're talking about, when you have Reggie McKenzie and you have Dave Ziegler, who have been general managers, they have an all-star crew in there. And then you mix in the talent evaluators and the scouting department and all that. It's a great group of people. And I think Mike Borgonzi, it kind of spoke to what he's about and what his vision is, what their vision is aligned. Because, you make that pick from 35 right here in this room. We were covering this on last Friday night. And you pick up a pick at 52 overall, and then you add in a third rounder you didn't have, so that you didn't go from 35 to 103, which is a long way to fall to see names come off the board. And then you make a day 3 trade with the Baltimore Ravens so that you can go back into the bottom of the 4th round to take Elikai Omanor from Stanford. They not only address need, they got some depth position stuff. Listen, I think all of these guys have interesting stories that we all like to tell. But I think the whole body of work, I'm with Mac. I like that they like it, and I think time will tell on the rest of it. You mentioned Oluwafemi Oladejo. So that was the guy they picked at 52 and when they traded down from 35. His family is from the western part of Nigeria in the Congo area of Africa. And their language they speak, which they speak, what I understand, frequently when their family unit is together. Oluwafemi in their language means God loves me. And so I think that's why he wants to be referred to by his full name, even though Femi is his nickname. But you just look at the production in these guys, and then Kevin Winston Jr. at 82. Let's face it, they needed a safety. Kevin Winston Jr. would have been much higher drafted in this draft had he not had the ACL. He played in the season opener for Penn State, felt a tweak in practice that next week, tried to go, played about a series or two in the next game, and then he had to have ACL surgery. He's far enough removed from that. He'll be all right. But had he been healthy, he'd have been taken early on night 2 instead of where he was at 82. And then you just start picking through this stuff. There's some very interesting, like Khalil Mullings, the last pick. He's a converted linebacker. He's still learning the running back position. But what I like about that is he brings the physicality in his style of running. Plus, his stuff could translate to being a core special teams guy and maybe the third running back.
Well, that's a huge part of that. I mean, you said that so well. That's a pretty common thread that runs through these guys. They're really football dudes. I mean, you can tell throughout their careers it's been very, very important to them. Some of them have overcome some things to get to what they've done, and also it shows that you don't have a group of prima donna dudes. I mean, they got guys that were willing to do what the team needed them to be, and then they took it and ran with it. So I mean, as I say, because they're happy with it, I'm happy with it. But as we were going through the draft, all three of us sitting here, and they would take them, and then we'd just check it off our list over here and go, okay. That to me made me, feel good because I knew they felt good.
Well, and you go back and you read their bios, it's littered with they were obviously multi-sport guys, but they were captains on their team. They're leaders. These are foundational style pieces, and some of the later rounds maybe you develop into more there. But the football character that needle is pegged.
The other thing that with the transfer portal world that we're living in now, when a player transfers from somewhere where he had a legitimate position as a captain and goes to his new place in the spring and then is elected captain with that new group, that tells you that trait translates.
This summer, SeatGeek has your ticket to the best live concerts in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. SeatGeek has the best seat, your seat, for an unforgettable summer. From rock royalty to rap superstars, R&B to country, find it all on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Nissan Stadium. Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now, back to the OTP. So the way that Chad Brinker described what they were looking for in his press conference was big, fast, tough football players who love winning more than anything else. And it was just that simple. It wasn't something he had to think about. It wasn't like, that's the answer. Is that such a clear and concise description of what they're looking for? Is that the makings of a strong identity for a football team that maybe didn't have such a specific guiding identity in 2024?
Well, let's go to the last part of that, where you said that love winning. That comes after you're willing to put the work into winning. That's what and that's what Chad is meaning with that. If you really truly, everybody, I haven't found a player yet in all the years I've been doing this that didn't like the feeling of winning. Now, the subset of that group is very small that's willing to put all the work in when nobody's watching that it takes to do that on a consistent basis. This is hard. It's hard. The preparation is hard. The practice is hard. The mental strain is hard. All of those things are important. But if you've got guys, put a group of guys together that are willing to do all of that to get to the end result and win together as a group, that's what you're looking for. Because it's real easy, for somebody to say, Coach, I love to win. All right, now let's go out here. Not just today, not just tomorrow, not just when you're really feeling good, because we all wake up some mornings not feeling great, and especially when you're doing something as exhaustive as playing professional football is, and in the National Football League, as a player and a coach. You got to be willing to, the word grind gets used a lot. But when you've lived it and you know what it is, you've got to have those guys that are willing to do it and on a consistent basis. I think that's what he's talking about.
The other thing I would follow up with Mac on that too. Someone asked General Manager Mike Borgonzi in the press conference about the cultural shape of things, and he had, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was a quote, something of to the effect of, if we get enough of these guys in there, that will build culture. And I think there's, when you look at this team on paper, they're very young. I mean, there's a few guys that are older in this, but when you're looking at Amani Hooker and you're looking at Jeffrey Simmons as the two longest vested, that were actually selected by the team, that's saying something. So you're going to need the football character, the people that put in the work when nobody's looking. And I think that's the other identity of this draft is every one of these guys in their own individual ways coming to this town and this team have put work in, and I think will continue to do so.
It's also why the mindset of the quarterback that you selected is huge. That's huge. Because and I've never sat down yet and talked with him face to face, and don't have to, because just from what I can ascertain by every time he opens his mouth and he starts to speak, he's saying something with a purpose.
Can I pause on that for a second, because
Yeah.
I want a PSA for the OT people. If you have not listened to that OTP that Amie Wells did with Cameron Ward, go. It's 11 minutes. It's not a great commitment. Just go listen to it. You'll get a better idea listening to that young man talk and listening to the background he's from. I mean, his family dynamic has clearly shaped him into the man that he is. There's a couple of funny things in there you need to hear about family game night. That's funny.
Canceled.
But he said, I'm not afraid to get into somebody's ass when I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the dude's a natural-born leader. He's earned the stripes coming up to this point. Now he's going to have to move into this lane. I don't think he's going to have any trouble with that part of it. But I learned a little more about him from your great interview with him from last week.
Amie, you're the only one sitting at this table in this group of wizards, in this wizard round table here, that's talked to him. Do you come away with that sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He is so even keeled to the point where you're almost like he's very comfortable. And not in a casual way, though, just in a quiet confidence kind of way. He's just delightful to talk to. Very kind, very respectful. Was a great person to talk to, great interview. But also, isn't afraid to kind of poke the bear a little bit because he has that quiet confidence. So he'll give you a hard time. He'll kind of mess around with you a little bit, which I think is great. I think that's one of the ways that you really connect with people. But he also seems to have a really good understanding of his surroundings almost. He does a great job of reading the room and reading the people within the room. And I think that is something that is that's not something that's developed. That's something you're born with. People can read the room or they can't. And it is just innate. And he had such a great ability to meet each person that he was interacting with. Because I watched him, as he went. When we bring the first round pick in, spoiler alert for those of you who don't know, when the first round pick comes in for the very first day right after he's picked, and he does the media and he does all kinds of stuff, we ask him to do about 865 different things. So he is all over the building. He's meeting with a ton of different people, and he's doing a lot of different things, whether it's photo shoots or interviews or talking to the media or shaking hands with this person or that person. I mean, there's a lot asked of them on their very first day. And he did such a great job of every room he walked into. He met every single person. By the time he left the room, he knew everybody's name. And he interacted with each person in a very different way that felt so familiar to them. And so that's why I think he is such a natural leader, is because he can instantly walk into a room and recognize that, this person wants to be dealt with different than this person. This person will appreciate this kind of humor. This person won't think that's funny at all. I need to talk to this person that way. That is something that you're born with. And so aside from all the football stuff, being able to do that's just an amazing skill set as a human.
Well, and the other thing about it is, and I'm glad that you bring that up, because I've done this so many years, those guys are operating on about 2 hours of sleep.
He said he got exactly 1 hour of sleep. Yeah.
And that's universal for those guys, especially those guys that go to the draft, that are asked to be at the draft. I mean, it's a whirlwind. It's a 4 or 5 day a whirlwind there,
right,
doing the same thing. So to still be able to muster the wherewithal to do that and understand the importance of a first impression where you are, because I mean, I can tell some stories about guys coming in with 1 hour sleep that we had to wake up off a couch, trying to get him to do the next thing. So that's those are legitimate points that you're making, that you've observed.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a tired pup, like especially by the time I got to him at the end of the day.
He had been through the car wash,
The
right?
man had been through the car wash, but I mean, he kept going, and he gave everybody 100%, even if he did not have 100% to give.
The more I heard him speak in that OTP, there's just this country charm and quiet confidence. It's like you were sitting there talking to Steve McNair.
Yeah.
That's how he handled himself. And I was reminded of that the more I heard him talk in that OTP. The other thing I would say, I went back and I watched a couple of his games yesterday afternoon.
Do you rest ever, Rhett?
Well, I mean, I do, but it was good to just be able to sit.
I took a nap yesterday.
Can I say this, Rhett? She asked if you ever rest. He was very pleasant with 1 hour sleep. Can you be more pleasant?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't know it was unpleasant, but sure.
I think, Rhett, you're very pleasant.
Okay. Watching him operate in the pocket, and I know this is going to be a whole different ball game for him, literally, in this league. But there's this confidence in just the way you talked about his spatial awareness and just the way he didn't get rattled. And the wolves are coming. And I know the wolves in this thing that's a whole different animal. But I don't know. There's something about the way he carries himself. I don't know. I went back. I was like, this is going to be a lot of fun.
You know, one of the things, and that's a good point, Rhett, because one of the things, he's very self-aware.
Yes, incredibly.
Appears to me. That's the one thing when he's asked by a coach about one of his strengths, he said, "I can see spatial awareness on the field."
Yeah, it's I was just very impressed by him, and I'm excited to see him as he gets into the locker room and gets with the rookies when they're in the building, and then also with the vets, and to see that dynamic. It's just going to be really fun to watch throughout the off-season program and through training camp, watching him grow and really find his footing and get more comfortable. I do think it's interesting that as we're looking at this draft class here, 6 additions on offense, 3 on defense. Mac, do you think there was a concerted effort to add young talent around this young quarterback so that they can all develop together?
Absolutely.
Is that something that would be beneficial for him in his development?
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely was. Now, a lot of it has to go with, how their board looked, how their front board looked as the vertical and horizontal started to come off and they started to trade. But absolutely. And I mean, that helps. That helps a lot. It sure does. Now, sooner or later, whether they're young guys that came in with him or they're veterans that he's around, he's got to assimilate with all of them. Everybody's got to assimilate together. But to your initial point, sure there was. You said how can we utilize this guy within the framework of what he likes to do offensively, and so what we're going to work together as a group to do.
Here's the other thing that, because you're right, in day 3, I'm like, are they going to go all offense? Because the first 4 selections were offense. The other part of it, in a bigger picture, got to score more than 18 points a game.
Yeah.
Got to.
Yep, that would be helpful.
And so some of these guys are going to be counted on for that stuff.
No, that's a valid point, Rhett.
Well, a word that came up in the press conference over and over and over again was speed. Speed was something that seems to be another point of emphasis. Mac, why was this team needing speed so much?
Well, first of all, I mean, this team was injured.
Right.
You had guys had to fill in that weren't starters. They didn't have enough requisite speed. But you can never be in this league too fast.
Right.
You can never be too fast. Now, some of the other things have to fit into it, and you have to be able to function that speed. There's a difference between just running. I mean, I've been at workouts where we've brought in Olympic athletes that were speedy guys, but then when you start putting a ball in it, started throwing it at them, they were ducking it like, why are you throwing it at me? So
playing hot potato all of a sudden.
Yeah, you get people throwing stuff at me. What are we doing now? you gotta have football speed. Football speed is different than just running fast in a straight line. But play speed, and you'll hear the evaluators talk about it. You heard our guys talk about it. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's got a GPS to the ball on defense. He can get to the football, because you've got to be able to incorporate your speed into the flow of the ball game. That's it. Straight line speed and football speed are two very distinctly different things.
Chimere Dike, 4.34 at the combine.
Wow.
38.5-inch vertical leap, 10.8 broad, 6.82 in the 3-cone.
Yeah, but see, and now right there, what he said, 6.82 in the 3-cone. Now he can change directions. He can start, stop, change. I mean, we talked about it earlier at one of the OTPs. If y'all missed it, go back and listen to it.
I mean, Elik Iomanor, 4.44, but 1.56 in his first 10.
Yeah, and see,
38.5 vert.
Because those things also matter too. Because it's not just straight vertical speed that you're incorporating into it, but the reason that they do that, they have some of those other qualities, Amie, that supplement that speed. You can never be too fast, but you've also got to be able to be fast enough to play football, which incorporates a lot of change of direction, a lot of start and stop. A lot of those things have to happen.
That corner they took from Cal, Marcus Harris. By the way, there's some good players in this draft from that Cal program.
Mm-hmm.
4.45 at the combine, ran 4.38 at his pro day, but 1.57 and 1.55 in his first 10, 36.5-inch vert, little over 7 in the 3-cone. But, 42 pass breakups, 8 interceptions.
That'll work.
He's got some
GPS to the ball.
He's got some twitch to him.
Yep.
He's got twitch. That our good friend Peter Sermon was the defensive coordinator there. That's now with the New Orleans Saints.
Hey Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up. Home is the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Now, back to the OTP. In other news, the Titans have also added another free agent, wide receiver Tyler Lockett. For those of you who are not familiar with Tyler Lockett, let me tell you a little bit about him. He played in 161 games with 134 starts in 10 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks. That would be from 2015 to 2024. They selected him in the 5th round of the 2015 NFL Draft. During his career, he has recorded 661 receptions for 8,594 yards and 61 touchdowns. Last season, he played in 17 games for the second straight year. He had 49 catches for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is a 3-time All-Pro selection as a return specialist. There you go. He can kind of do everything.
He's a pro's pro. And this guy is a legend in Manhattan, Kansas, at Kansas State.
Yeah.
I think that last year's stats, that broke a 4 or 5 year consecutive streak of 1,000-yard receiving seasons for him, too.
It did.
He's Mr. Dependable, reliable. He's, clearly durable because he's, and you get to his age, you're going to have some dents and dings, but to show up in all those, I've always had immense respect for him. And again, you'd hope that one of these 4th, 5th round receivers ends up, if they have a career anywhere near that, Titans had a great draft.
Well, the years I was in the NFC West at the Rams, this was a guy, when you played Seattle, you had to figure out where he was.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pro's pro. He's a pro. And you talk about intent when you bring people in for certain reasons. Before this draft started, that room was light on numbers, the receiver room, but it's also very light on experience.
Yeah, it was a young room.
Well, yeah, young without much experience. You had Calvin Ridley, basically the experienced player, and then a lot of young dudes trying to make their mark. That was a great get. I love the fact when they signed him.
So it was his is the intent for him to be obviously a contributor on the field, but just as big a contributor in the classroom?
That's what you
and
get.
in the locker room?
That's what you get. Yes, that's exactly why. I mean, you can't. How many times have y'all heard me say you can't manufacture experience?
Yeah.
And you can't manufacture the value of experience, especially with this is going to be a young team. We've already said it. This is a young football team. This team is refitting. It's refitting everywhere. But you've got to have some vets that understand how this works. But they have to be the right kind of vets, and he's one of them.
Well, you think, to that point, Bryce Oliver got to where he was getting some playing time down the stretch. Bryce Oliver already had some examples to show him how to be a pro. Here's another solid person to continue to meld and mold him into what he needs to be, and more importantly, what the Titans want him to be.
Yeah, well, I just experienced it in all my years of coaching in this league, because a really good veteran can mentor a younger player and accelerate their comfort and their learning in the league even much quicker than a coach can, much quicker, because they're with them more.
So the Titans have their draft class. They have their undrafted free agents, who we are not discussing yet. We don't know the final list, but they are actively working on getting that group of people together.
Yeah, actively is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
Because we should do it. We could do a whole segment on the way that process is.
It's wild.
After the draft. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I just had a flashback to 31 years of
the wild, wild
you need
west.
to like cool down
No,
or something.
I mean,
Are you
just had
gonna
a
overheat?
flashback with 4 telephones in my ears.
Oh no,
See
we're
over-
losing Mac.
C.O. Mercado running in here and telling me, "Don't talk to that guy right now." I said, "C.O., I've already got him."
Don't talk to him. Oh, no. Yeah, that is definitely a crazy process that at some point we'll have to completely pull back the curtain and do the whole thing, because the undrafted free agent kind of swarm, I think we call it. I don't
It's
even
the
know
Wild,
what
Wild
that
West.
is. It's crazy town.
Yep.
So they are still actively working on that.
Yes, they are.
Getting that group of people together. Obviously, our draft class is set. They have a solid group of free agents that they brought in during the first wave of free agency,
Yes.
a couple more after the draft with Tyler Lockett. There could be more. There's usually a second wave in the post-draft time.
You're right.
But now the real work begins, right, Mac? Now we've got to get them in the building and see what they got.
Well, it's all been work. I mean, it's to this point it's been real work, and now what you get to do is it's kind of like, you try to get all your seeds and you plant your seeds. Now you get to water it and watch it grow. This is what's in this. This is, as a coach, this is why you coach. This is why you're in it. This is why you can't wait to get in the room with these guys. You can't wait to get them on the field. You can't wait to go through the whole process with them. This is I guess, the real adrenaline pump time for coaches. It really is.
This is the time. We are going through OTAs. They're in phase 1 right now of the off-season program. OTAs begin in a couple weeks. And then we have the mini camps, mandatory mini camp. We have rookie mini camp before that. Getting guys in here, getting them in the classroom, getting them on the field a little bit to do each phase has its own set of rules, but getting them on the field, doing some work, and starting to see where this team is before they take a little break, and then they come back, and it's training camp.
And it's going to be, of course, with the 3 preseason games, it's a little bit unusual training camps. And, if they've said that they may be away for a couple of weeks, too, with training camp, so that always makes it different. But, yeah, it's a linear progression, but you can't skip any of these steps.
Yes.
And what you just laid out, Amie, is true, but you can't. Every step is important. You can't just be looking ahead to the next step. If you have to complete each step in the progress, so that when it comes time to decide which of these guys you're going to keep on the 53 to begin with, that you've done all the prep work, just like they did 3.5 months prep work on this draft.
Well, the good news is there's going to be some semblance of football in the building. It's not entirely the real thing, obviously. We're still a ways off when it comes to games and that kind of thing. But having people in the building, having them work out, seeing them on the field a little bit, it feels feels a little bit more normal.
Well,
It feels better.
the football building comes alive when the players are here.
Yeah, it does.
Because everything comes together, and it's just, I love everything about it. I mean, that's why professional football's, I've been in it over half my adult life, and it's just, it never gets tiresome, I promise you.
Yeah. Rhett, do you have any final thoughts to wrap up the 2025 NFL Draft? You put in so much work getting ready for this. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I've enjoyed doing all this draft coverage with both of y'all, and the feedback that we've all gotten about it. I think it's been positive, and I'm just looking forward to kind of learning more about these young men that have been selected and the ones that will come in as undrafted free agents, and learning their stories and telling their stories on Titans Radio. That's what I love just as much as about anything, because they're just people like we are. They just have the coolest job in the world, and they get to have their name played on their uniform and play in front of a bunch of people.
I can't wait to go to practice every day and stand there with you two and watch and talk about it, and stand there with Rhett while he's timing the punters. And, I mean, he does.
It's about hang time, clocking time. We're getting there.
Well, and just take and roll and learning numbers, because there's lots of new numbers and faces and all that stuff to try to learn. And I know people around here probably think I'm crazy, but it is an exercise for me mentally just to familiarize myself with faces and numbers and all that stuff.
This roster is so different. I'm going to have to make flashcards this year.
Sure.
I've been able to get by the last couple of years. I'm going to need flashcards again.
Well, it's just because it's all so important. I mean, it really is. And as I said, I really enjoy watching practice with you two.
Well, Mac,
likewise.
We like to watch practice with you,
Indeed.
too.
Sometimes.
No, every time.
There it is. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up here for the OTP. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Official Titans podcast. For Coach Mac, for Rhett, Bryan, I'm Amie Wells, and this has been the OTP.